I'm program manager in charge of Paginated Reports, reporting services, Power BI report server.
All
This
right.
is?
Patrick LeBlanc. I am a PM on the Power BI Customer Advisory Team.
Okay.
Let's go.
And did you have something else you wanted to chat about?
No, I want you to.
Oh, you want me to talk about
Just
the bear?
say-
Oh, okay. So how many of you know what Paginated Report Bear is? Okay, so a few. All right,
Okay.
so for those of you who don't, this is Paginated Report
This
Bear.
one guy right here.
Yeah, I understand. All right. So Paginated Report Bear originally started, my son over Thanksgiving break, was like, Dad, we really want to do a YouTube video with you. And for years, my son and I had been playing with stuffed animals prior to him going to bed. And it was like, why don't we use Mickey? And so it became Paginated Report Bear because nobody knew what Paginated Reports was. So we started doing these videos. They were meant to be silly and fun for me and my son. And over time, they evolved into something much more than that because we started doing, the MVPs got excited about it, so we started doing some stuff on Twitter, and then we started doing interviews with the product team since I have inside access, and so these have kind of taken off. And it's helped bring a little bit of awareness to what Paginated Reports are in the community. He's got his own YouTube channel and Twitter feed. He's actually up to about 400 people following him on Twitter. So.
We want to get more subscribers, so if you guys are on Twitter, go follow him.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then, Paginated Report Bear has been making a lot of appearances, and we're trying to get 100 selfies of him.
Yeah,
today
so
with
Chris's son, right? So we love kids, right?
Yes.
How many of you guys have kids? You love kids?
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Your kids have a project, you want to make sure they do the project so they can make an A. Well, Chris' son has issued a challenge to Adam, myself, and Chris.
Oh, well,
to
he didn't
if-
initially do it with you guys, but
to see, so how many do you have right now?
32.
So we need 68 more,
You're a principal program manager?
right? Selfies or pictures of people with the bear, and maybe before you guys leave today, we're looking for courageous volunteers to take a picture with the bear. So if you can spare just a few minutes of your time on the way out, line up, and we will take a picture with you with the bear just to make sure we get these 100 photos.
We only have an hour.
Okay, so that was my presentation. All right, thank you.
All right. No, thank you, Patrick. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's new with Paginated Reports? How many people know we GA'd today? Yay, all right. That's why I have a bear in YouTube and Twitter to try and generate interest here. All right. So, what are we going to cover? Hopefully, many of you know what Paginated Reports are. Is there anybody here who doesn't know what a Paginated Report is? Okay, so a few. Patrick, my God. All right. So I know why Adam's lost all his hair. All right, so what are Paginated Reports? We'll talk just briefly about that and the difference between that and Power BI reports. I've already had a lot of questions while I've been here. Hey, when do I actually use a Paginated Report? We're going to cover a number of things that have come between our announcement in November of when we announced the public preview and the GA. So we've had a flurry of feature announcements over the last several weeks, one on top of another, where we've really been pushing out a number of new features. I want to cover all of those here. Patrick is here to do the demo, and he's going to go kind of end to end of the entire experience here. And we want to make sure we have some time for questions. And again, I'll be around afterwards if you want to ask a little bit more. We have a huge presence down at Ask the Experts. 5 different members of the engineering team are actually here at the conference at Ask the Experts to answer your questions and talk to you. It doesn't just have to be about the stuff we're doing in the cloud. More than happy to talk to you about SSRS or Power BI Report Server as well. Today's session is going to cover the stuff in the cloud. Okay? So, if you have any questions throughout, just please raise your hand. I'll try and get to them. I'm going to maybe cut you off at times because we want to make sure we get through all the content, but I will try to answer questions as we kind of move through. So, what are paginated reports? Well, paginated reports are the reports that you've had in SSRS for the last 15 years. How many people here are familiar with SSRS? Okay, good. So, SSRS is built on a language called RDL, and these are generally thought of as operational or document style reports. You know, here the context of pixel perfect printable documents. You can actually do a number of things with paginated reports. Many people in the past have used them for dashboards, reports, et cetera. But in general, people usually save those interactive or now use interactive reports in the context of PBIX or the Power BI reports. How many people here are familiar with Power BI reports, Power BI desktop? Okay, good. So that's really when you have those two use cases. There are certain things that Power BI reports do extremely well that I would never either be able to do in a paginated report or want to do in a paginated report. On the flip side, how many of you would like to be able to print a table that goes across multiple pages? Yeah, guess what you'll never be able to do in a Power BI report? That. I assure you, because I'm also the PM who runs the screenshot service, which takes those pictures that you print out. And I can assure you what you won't be able to do with a Power BI report is a scrollable table. So that's why a paginated report can be your best friend, because you will be able to do that. That's one of the things it does very well. So these are broad generalizations. You may find use cases where you could do either one, but in general, that's how you should think of these two items. So when to use them. So this is specifically stolen from Adam and Patrick, who did this at a SQL Saturday. And I thought they did a nice job kind of talking about, hey, when would I do these particular use cases? I cleaned it up a little bit because theirs was in Comic Sans. But in general, these are the types of things when you think about these two items. How many people have run into the export limit of 150,000 rows from Power BI? Guess what you don't have with paginated reports? Any row limit. You can export as much as you want, provided you have the memory for it. We'll go over that in a bit in terms of how it fits into Premium. You have control over all the elements. One of the things that you see at the bottom there, 11 of the top 20 items on ideas.powerbi.com you can accomplish with paginated reports. This isn't to say this is an either-or thing. It's just right now, these items very specifically can't be done yet with Power BI Desktop. Now, you saw today at the keynote, for example, Will Thompson talking about the ability to do KPI visual indications, red, yellow, green. That's one of the things you can do right now in a paginated report that they're bringing that experience now to a Power BI Desktop report. And to be fair, what they are going to have in place is a far more user-friendly experience than what we have right now in Report Builder. Right now, in Report Builder, you can accomplish that, but you have to write a little line of code. It's not hard code, but again, think of like DAX, you have to go do something. It's not a friendly UI. That's one of the things we've always wanted to fix. But the idea is that for a lot of these things, spark lines, subscriptions with attachments, you can do these right away with paginated reports in the service. On the flip side, again, things with Power BI reports, data mashup engine, very interactive, ad hoc reporting, custom visuals. These are all things that are related to that particular report type. So there are use cases for both, and I'll show you how we're trying to bring the experiences closer together as well in terms of things like drill through, et cetera. Okay, so what's new since public preview? So Power BI, paginated reports in Power BI is currently a premium-only feature, which I know everyone is very excited about. How many people here actually have premium? Okay, good. What do you consider premium? Do you consider it a P SKU only or an A or an EM SKU? Anybody? Is it P generally? Okay. The SKUs are very confusing, so I'm sure that that's not your favorite question, but P SKUs right now are where paginated reports are. The reason that this is like this today is there were some technical things that we had to figure out in terms of how we would go and support this in the context of a cloud service. One of the interesting things of leading this project for the last 18 months or so is when SSRS was first introduced, there was no concept of the cloud. And many of the things that are in place in the context of the server product don't translate very well to the idea of a multi-tenant SaaS service. So with that in mind, we had a very specific limitation where we needed to be able to run this in a secure way as part of a premium capacity. How many people would like to see this in Pro? Okay. So we would very much like to bring it to you in Pro. What I need your help with is you making this case to people like Arun and Amir and others so they can see the customer demand for this, because he's sneaking in the back there, but the engineering manager for the RS team, John Heide, has a plan on how we could make this available to Pro users. And so we just need all of the customer evidence that we can get to show that this is something that is not only valuable for our existing customers, but will help draw in new customers. So again, we would very much like to make this available in Pro. I can't give you a specific date of when we would be able to do that, but it's something that very much we want to make happen. All right. For premium users today, it will be on by default for any new capacities that are turned on or created after the end of June. So the time frame that we kind of worked to in the context of the engineering team is they were coding right up until last week for the GA stuff, and then what we roll out is what's called a series of trains, where it goes through different rings inside internal environments and then to the external environment. So it takes a few weeks for that to show up in production. All of the things that are available for GA are still in the process of being rolled out, but we wanted to make the announcement today. So the premium feature where it will just be on by default is coming in the last week of June for new capacities. If you have an existing capacity, you still have to go and flip that switch that's in the capacity admin screen. When it's on by default, it is using a very small footprint of memory until you actually start using the workload. So it's not like it's carved off a bunch of memory from your capacity when it's on by default. It's only when you start using it does it then start consuming the memory, and you have to worry about it really causing contention with other workloads in certain scenarios. One of the things that I was very excited about is I got a lot of feedback that people didn't like the idea that they could only use half of a capacity for paginated reports. For many customers, especially coming from SSRS, they wanted to use the entire capacity in general. Or they wanted to use 75% or whatever the case was. One of the things that did cause frustration, however, is that when you assigned memory for paginated reports, that memory could not be given back. So if you set it to 50%, it means you were using it, say, on a P1, 12.5 gigs of RAM was not available for your other workloads. They've done some optimizations now where you can set this to up to 100% and your other workloads can still run. And there's some things behind the scenes they're taking care of where they can move things on and off in disk in and out of memory. So it isn't as bad as it was in terms of, hey, I set this memory and then I can't use it for anything else. But just keep that in mind as you're setting up your capacities for what you'd like to optimize for this certain scenarios. There's an error on this slide. It is not yet available in GovCloud. We thought it was going to be available in GovCloud by this time. There was an issue with the specific data centers in terms of some hardware we needed that's planned by the end of August. It'll be rolled out throughout the July-August timeframe, but we're very optimistic that it'll be done by the mid to end August. I already answered the question about the pro users. Any questions on this slide? Whew, okay, good. All right. I hate the licensing slide. All right. Power BI Report Builder. That's not confusing at all. So Power BI Report Builder is the same underlying engine technology tool that for many of you knew for years as SQL Server Reporting Services Report Builder. How many people here have used Report Builder for? Great. That's what I like to see. Well, congratulations. In April, we released a version with less features. What we did in April is we put a new coat of paint on it, made it look a little bit nicer with the splash screen, and then it hid things you couldn't do in the context of the service. We were trying to optimize for scenarios for people who were trying to publish to the service, because what we were finding is people were taking the reports from SSRS, trying to push them right up to the cloud. Guess what didn't work? That. All right? So it can sit side by side with existing Report Builder installs. So if you already have Report Builder installed on your machine, this can sit side by side by it nicely. We've made a number of improvements recently, and Patrick's going to show you some of this as part of his presentation. Ideally, he's shaking his head, that's just concerning to me. But the big one that we announced today is that during the preview period, you had to actually save the report locally and then save it up to Power BI, which was very, very inefficient. Now you have a true sign-in, sign-out experience, just like you have in desktop, and you may browse all of your different workspaces to find your reports, open them in Report Builder, edit them, and then save them back. You no longer have to go through that workaround process we had in place. One of the really nice things about this to keep in mind, just like SSRS, you have a true round-tripping experience. You don't have to go download the file, make your changes, and republish it like you do with desktop. This is truly, you can open it, make your edits, and save it back live. So that's very, very efficient in terms of how you can go and kind of work with these in the context of the Power BI service. That was the one time I was hoping for applause. So. All right. So one of the other things that I'm very proud of is the supported data sources that we've gotten to in the context of this time frame. So we now have support for all of these data sources in the context of paginated reports. We have Power BI data sets. Now, to date, they've only been the premium data sets that are available via the XMLA endpoint. I just tweeted out from one of the developers' machines who's sitting right over there, Jason Tremper, who worked very, very hard to have something available by this time. You will see, if you go over to Ask the Experts and look on Jason's machine, we have the full experience now where you can go and use any data set in Power BI you have access to, whether it's premium or non-premium. And it's a true experience where you can browse the workspaces, find the data set, and use that as your data source in your Paginated reports. This is a very, very big deal because one question I seem to get quite a bit is, when will Power BI Report Builder be available without premium? It is already available without premium. It is a free download just like the desktop. Any user with a pro license can go and connect to their Power BI datasets and do what they need locally in terms of a paginated report. One of the other nice things about Report Builder, which if you've all used it, you already know, you can actually go and render the report right there and export it out to 8 different formats. We're encouraging people, if they don't yet have premium, to at least go download Report Builder and use it for their paginated report experience so they can get an understanding of what it can bring to their organization. Please go and use this and take advantage of this. It's not just Power BI data sets that you can use in the context of this, but for a lot of users who aren't familiar with the technology, this is a big deal because they want to create reports against the same data set that their Power BI reports are using. So that will be released by the end of June. I'm looking at you, Jason. Okay. So that'll be available by the end of June, officially in the product, but you can see a demo of it down at the Ask the Experts area after this session. Azure Analysis Services is supported. One of the things we're going to do after, it may have gone out in this release, we call it Azure Analysis Services separately. It was confusing to some folks that they had to use SQL Server Analysis Services. It'll still work if you do that, but we now have a separate item for Azure Analysis Services called out. We also now call out Azure SQL DW. So that was something we've supported since the preview, but not many people were aware of it. And then Azure SQL DB. One of the nice things that we've done in the context of Azure SQL DB, you should see, if not this week, but in the next couple of weeks, we have true SSO or OAuth 2 support. So you can use pass-through authentication to use things like row-level security in the context of your Azure SQL DB data source, as well as Azure Analysis Services and Power BI datasets. Power BI datasets is interesting in that some people were trying to use RLS and they were finding it wasn't working. It was because the shared datasets feature was not yet released. I strongly encourage you to go read the documentation around the shared datasets feature and the documentation I will add around paginated reports, because there are a lot of things that you can actually do with paginated reports that you can't do in the other scenario, and vice versa. And we're trying to rationalize those as quickly as possible, but there are some quirks right now as you kind of work through since that feature is still in preview. And then the other data sources via the gateway, SQL Server, Oracle and Teradata, and SQL Server Analysis Services. We've not tried this yet, and normally I wouldn't call this out, but since Mr. Saxton's here who loves Kerberos, we think that SQL Server with Direct Query with Kerberos will work with a single sign-on scenario as well. But setting up Kerberos is so challenging, we've not tried it yet. So, look at him shaking his head like Kerberos is fine. So maybe he'll go do it. But yeah. So, but the reason I'm excited about this, at PASS in November, I put up a slide and said, here's what we're going to try and get done by GA. And we were able to get all of these things accomplished in that time. It's very challenging to go and add data source support through the gateway for something that wasn't necessarily designed for paginated reports. So we're really, really pleased we're able to get to all of these items for you by this time. Any questions on the data set support? This is the best audience ever. Okay. All right, Pagy, you can come back up there. All right. Sharing using Power BI apps. This is obviously a big one in the context of a premium product because, again, that's where the majority of sharing is happening right now. You can use either a V1 or V2 workspace to share your paginated report via an app. The V2 workspace is the recommended one because then you get the new app theming and all of the other niceties that come with app workspace V2, but it'll work in both scenarios. Something that people were having some challenges with is that when you had to update a paginated report for the last few weeks, you had to actually unpublish the app. You should no longer have to do that. Staging support is there just like a Power BI report where if you change it, you can then republish the app or just make the update to the app accordingly, and you don't have to republish the content. This was something that, again, in the context of the way we work on the engineering team, there was a different cadence and timing. We were trying to line up with the Workspace V2 and the new app experience, so there were some challenges there. Yes?
Sorry. On the previous slide,
Damn it.
percent when a new report, does that person also need to have a Power BI Pro license so they can gain access to the workspace and render the data from a data set?
So, yes, you don't need a pro license if you're connecting. So a free user has a My Workspace. They can go connect to a Power BI data set in there, and they can connect to their data in the context of that and use it in the context of Report Builder. But Report Builder, unlike Power BI reports, doesn't have a cached model of data. So you have to always go and authenticate against the service to get access to the data set. You may also, for authoring purposes, use the port in the Power BI desktop, the diagnostic port that they've gone and documented for your authoring purposes to accelerate that experience. Because one of the nice things about your paginated reports is you can go and change the data source at any time to either the XMLA endpoint or to the data set, and it will just work. So I've done this before. I've used a local Power BI data set, created my paginated report, published it up to the service, and just swapped it out with the XMLA URL, and it worked just fine when I published it up to the service. Does that answer your question? Great. Cool. So, one of the things I was excited to let you all know about was the subscription piece, because there's a little bit of news here that goes beyond paginated reports. Hourly, daily, and weekly frequencies are already available for paginated reports. Hourly frequencies are being done in the next couple weeks for all Power BI reports. At the same time, monthly is being actively worked on for all Power BI reports and dashboards. I happen to own this area all up as well, so I can have a little bit of insight here. The bigger news is the following item. This should be available now. Any free user in Premium may now subscribe themselves and others to content in Power BI, whether it be paginated reports, Power BI reports, or dashboards. So that's a big one in terms of what you can go and do across your Premium workspaces. So any user, pro or free, now can subscribe to content or others to content. Whether it's shared via an app, shared from a workspace, even in the context if you're a My Workspace user and you have that in Premium. So these are all scenarios that are now unlocked in the context of subscriptions. So 6 attachment types are supported for paginated reports. So all the attachment types that we support for export right now are also available in the context of subscriptions, except for MHTML. Now I know this is a big one that people were really excited about, pumping out MHTML. John in the back is looking at me because he's very passionate about why we should have this working. But we don't support that because it's actually something that the email service we use doesn't allow us to attach. Is there anybody super passionate about MHTML? There you go, John. Nice try. All right. So, 2, okay, fine. 25 megabyte file limit. So the way it works with the Power BI report right now, you have a picture of your data that you can then click the link and go see the full report. Because of that, you often notice sometimes there's also an attachment of the picture as well. So the way that the file size limit actually was split up was 12 and 12. So we got rid of that limitation because we're adding back the functionality to get kind of a preview of the first page of a paginated report. Should be there next week. And you can choose to use that, but the image is much smaller. But the overall email can be up to 25 megabytes. So we already know of a few customers that have been pushing out CSVs of like 23 meg. I don't know if they were just testing us, but it worked. But people often ask, I want to export large amounts of data from my Power BI system on a regular basis. And they want to set up a subscription for that. I actually did a blog post very specifically where I take that file and save it to OneDrive for Business right from my inbox. So this is something where you had in the context of, say, SSRS, where you could save it to a folder location if you were working in SharePoint integrated mode. That's something we want to, yes? Not yet. Yeah. That'll take a while to get the attachment support for Power BI reports. I can't give you a date on that. Other questions before I? Yeah. Yes, we're going to do data-driven subscriptions. It's one of the top items we have for the second half of this year. I call it out on a later slide. That's a big one that comes up. I am curious, though, because we just went and added traditional parameter support in the context of subscriptions. And a lot of people ask for data-driven subscriptions, and some of them don't have the context of what that means in SSRS. And they're like, oh, I just want to be able to send a subscription that keeps, this person gets New York, somebody else gets Colorado, whatever it is. And you can do that with your regular parameterized subscriptions now in Power BI. So you can go and set parameters per subscription. We released that 2 weeks ago, and you can set those up. It's not the same, obviously, as a data-driven subscription, but for certain scenarios, like myself personally, I'm able to get by with that for almost all the subscriptions I need to run internally. But for certain people, yeah, they need the full data-driven subscription. That's planned. Other questions here? Subscriptions is an area you'll see us continue to innovate heavily in. We've seen enormous response to this, both in the context of paginated reports, but Power BI reports. So how many of you were all excited when we added scheduling back in January? Yay. Yeah. Well, that's because me from the SSRS team's like, why don't you have scheduling? So I put scheduling in place. Yes. Yeah, I'm patting myself on the back. That's right. No, it's just, but one of the things that I think is, it brings up an important point. SSRS is not just about the report type. This is where we want to bring these other concepts to Power BI, if you think about things like caching, snapshots, things like that. So a lot of these things we'd like to see brought across the product in various ways, beyond just the report type itself. So. SAS embedding support. So I'm jumping the gun a little bit here because I thought they were doing the preview last week, but they decided to hold off. But it's already available if you want to go try this. So the SAS embedding support is now there in a preview state. What's not there is the easy way to do it with the secure embed functionality or the SharePoint web part. So you can go do it via code, where the user owns data scenario, and go and embed that into content for internal scenarios. But it's still in preview state, and they'll have a full blog post and the documentation available next week. But that is something we get asked about. Questions on the embedding story? Mr. LeBlanc.
All right, okay. Can you hear me? Am I coming in clear? Yes. All right. So, come on, baby. Don't fail me now. All right, so we're here to talk about Power BI reports and not paginated reports. Just kidding. Look at Chris, all right? No, but tomorrow I have a full session talking about, so shameless plug, right? I'm taking over Chris's session. I have a full session on, I'm going to walk through designing a report in Report Builder, showing some different concepts and things. And one of the things that I think we need to understand is that Power BI, paginated reports aren't meant to replace Power BI reports and vice versa. They're complementary to each other. And I think that's just something that comes up a lot. And tomorrow I'm going to talk about this a lot at the beginning of the session. Like this report, for example, I'll talk about this report. And if you look at this report, this is a Power BI report, right? But imagine, so the scenario that I'm going to talk about right now, and I'll talk about it at length tomorrow, is imagine that you have this report. Still when you get stuff in the, like Amazon ships you something, there's a bill that they print and put the invoice in a box. Or there's a bill of materials, or there's a report card, or there's a transcript, or something like that has to be created. And that has to be done with a paginated report. That can't be done with a Power BI report, because if you take this, for example, I have a customer that has 2 invoices, and if I want to send these 2 invoices to this customer using Power BI, how would I do that, right? This is one invoice. I have to file, export it, and then I need to select the other invoice, file, and export it. I cannot just do it so elegantly or so seamlessly like I would with paginated reports. So check this out, right? So to get started with this, you need to go to powerbi.com somewhere and click on the download option and choose Paginated Report Builder. Download it. That's the first thing you need to do is get it. And so they made it easy for you to get. Chris made it easy for you to get. No, none of the engineers had anything to do with this. Where are you at, John? All right, you guys, none of the engineers, sir. All right, nothing to do with this. All right, so once you get it, you'll see it's a great product. So they did a lot of updates to it compared to the old report builder. I think they just put a new skin on top of it.
I can confirm that.
And so you right click here and you can add a data source, which is really, really cool. And Chris talked about the number of data sources they had. But what's really, really interesting is you can choose analysis services. And for everyone that's using the premium capacity in Power BI, if you expose your XMLA endpoint, you can pop the XMLA endpoint right in there. And the same data set until they expose the non-premium data sets, you can actually create Power BI reports against the same data set that you create paginated reports against the same data set that you create your Power BI report with. It's pretty cool, right? All right, so once you get connected, you can design your report, then you can publish your report, but watch this. This is what Chris was talking about. When you download it, there's gonna be a sign-in option right at the top. You can sign in and then choose File, Open, and then you have an option to choose Power BI Service, just like, I don't think the desktop can.
Desktop can
No,
open.
you can't open.
Oh, no.
I can't open. I can't open a file.
You can open a data set.
Data set, but I can't open my Power BI report from the service that I've published out. But now you can see I have all my workspaces. If I go to a workspace, I can get the reports that's in that workspace. It's somewhere in here amongst all this chaos. And so I could choose that report, click open, and just like that report will open directly in my surface area here in the report. Let's go to view. You just got to know how to use this thing. Right? And there's my report that I designed. I can begin to design and edit my report. I can add things to it. It takes a little bit of know-how to design these paginated reports. But these paginated reports aren't meant for, end users can do this, but this is more of an IT authoring experience. This is my opinion. This is truly my experience. We debate about this, but the manager back there is shaking his head, so that's all that matters to me. I don't care if Chris disagrees. And so,
You know how engineering and PM works, right?
these are more operational IT author type of reports, right? And so these are the reports that we design because our end users come to us and go, I need a table. And you go, okay, I'll create this table for you. And you give them the table and they go, wait a minute. There's something wrong with this. And I go, what's wrong? We need commas. We need alternating colors. We need bolded text, right? And I go, well, what about the numbers? The numbers aren't important. It has to be pretty first, right? And so you design these reports. We spend a lot of time, a tremendous volume of time designing these reports. We create these reports. We do all the effort in designing them. And then we publish these reports out. So you go File, just like that, Save, and then you can publish it back to the service. It'll open up here in a little bit, I promise. All right, once it's published out, you can do so many things up here. So let me go to my workspace where this report is. I'm so excited about this. I've been waiting for this, to do this demo for like a month now. When Chris first told me about it, he gave me 10 minutes to do this. I thought I would have so much more time. Then they gave me my own session, so that's even much better. All right, so when it opens up, you can specify your own default parameters, just like in reporting services. So you can see here, I have my report created. I can do File. I can create print. And I remember when I did this I did a keynote at the past summit, and I did this and I opened this up and it was massive applause. Oh, this is so great, Patrick. I thought they were cheering for me, but they were actually just cheering for this print box. And so you can do so many things with it, but what I like the most is not only do you have the built-in formats, I can go custom. And we're printing all these different type of QR codes and barcodes and things like that. I can do all that directly inside of paginated reports now, right? And then we have the export option where I can export to just about anything I want. PDF, I don't see HTML up here. There it goes. Wait a minute. Yes, it is. All right. So I can go there and I can do these types of things. So exciting. I can share these reports out. But the big thing, this is the big thing. So I'm a seller. I sell stuff every day. I really don't sell anything anymore, but I used to work in the field and I used to sell stuff. And when people ask me about, hey, Patrick, I need my invoices. Can you ship my invoices to me? I remember when this first came out, I called Chris because my little subscribe button was disabled. And he was so nonchalant about it. You got to set default parameters. You guys, you know how he is. And I was like, what?
No, they don't. They don't know me.
These people knew about the paginated bear, so they know how you are. And so I was like, wait a minute, that is absolutely unacceptable. So you're telling me if I want to send an invoice to 4 different customers, I need to publish this report 4 times and create default parameters for each customer. That is some bull, right? I'm not using this at all, and I'm not going to tell my customers about it. But like 2 days later, he called me. He's like, go check it out. Go check this out, right? And so now, right, I can set my parameters here. I can choose subscribe.
Relax.
And wait for the conference Wi-Fi. Click add subscription. And now, right, I can choose all these different options he talked about, except for MHTML, which I'm so sad about.
Yeah.
And
rough.
Then there's a parameters option.
It literally was right up there.
Right there.
There you go.
So not only I can use my current parameters or my default parameters. So instead of uploading and creating a report multiple times, I only have 4 customers. So I can create 4 subscriptions with the parameters for those customers, set it up to send out as often as I like, and then when they wake up in the morning, every Monday morning, that PDF is sitting in their inbox with one report, right, one PDF file with 2 different invoices. Can't do that with Power BI, can you? No way, all right? But they complement each other,
That's right.
all right?
Well,
Thank you so much.
would you mind switching back to Report Builder real quick?
Oh, boy, here we go. I thought this was my demo.
You thought wrong.
I have one more thing I do want to show.
Can you show the properties pane real quick?
This guy right here?
Yeah.
Because you can control everything. Is that, auto
You can,
refresh.
yes. So how
I
many
had
people
it
saw
teed
the
up.
auto refresh today for Power BI
I had it
reports?
teed up.
How many people knew there was auto refresh for paginated reports?
So you didn't know that? Yeah. So you
It's
can
been
set
there
that property.
for 11 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
This now works in the service.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
So-
So what?
You literally just set the number of seconds and it just works.
It just refreshes. So the last thing I want to show is I say these 2 complement each other. They absolutely complement each other. I'm a salesperson, a sales analyst, whatever, and what I'm going to show you tomorrow is how to create this ad hoc hyperlink, and it just is not working right now because I republished the report. But basically, what I have the ability to do is take the parameters that I set in my paginated report, dynamically build a hyperlink to a Power BI data set. And when it opens up that data set, it's going to set the filters to the context of that report. And so if I want to start really analyzing the data and doing some ad hoc analysis based on the data, as opposed to looking at this operational report, you'll be able to do that just by clicking and going back. And then I'll show you how to go. Oh, I can't show you how to go back to paginated reports because I don't have URL filters yet. Hint, hint. So as soon as those come, I'll show you how to go back. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Chris, so much for allowing me to present.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, I won't make that mistake again.
Just give him his own session.
No, I did that. That was the point. No, that was great. Thanks, Patrick. And again, really excited about the authoring experience. You know, you're going to see us continue to innovate and improve on that. I think to Patrick's point, the debate has not been around whether or not the persona is the BI professional who creates these reports. This has clearly been the persona that we've targeted in the past. The interesting thing is, as we've added paginated reports to the service, the author of Power BI or desktop reports, these people are not always the BI developers of the past. They've said, I want to go use Power BI Report Builder. And they open it up and they're like, uh-oh. So this is where we want to give them a more graceful on-ramping experience. And for certain scenarios where I just need to create a table to export data, those are the types of things that anybody should be able to go do that without issues. There's nice little wizards in there. I'm looking at John because he hates those wizards, but there are wizards there to help you kind of guide you on board with that. Okay, so what's next? So we've covered a bunch of stuff in the context of what we've released to today. Oh, yes, question.
Can I do a drill through from a Power BI to a paginated report?
So, okay. So right now, Power BI recently introduced a true drill through from one report to another experience in the context of a product. We are not yet hooked into that experience. Patrick mentioned for the 112th time to me about URL parameters. If you follow me on Twitter, literally I finished the spec on that yesterday. The devs are starting on it this week. So we will have that ability, so you could use that as a experience to go from one to the other. However, interestingly enough, and I don't see Paul in this room right now, Paul Turley. How many of you have read Paul Turley stuff in the past? Anybody? This is great, so I can really rub it in Paul's face next time I see him. No, just kidding. So Paul's a great guy who's done a bunch of SSRS books in the past. He had an interesting blog post that I stumbled upon a couple weeks ago from 5 years ago, where he was trying to, at the time, to export a report or have a drill through of a report in SSRS to an Excel file locally. And he had come up with an interesting workaround to go do this, where essentially you go and save your parameter values. You don't know this as the end user. You're saving parameter values into a little table when you hit a button, and that actually works in the context of Excel. I talked to a couple of the devs about this. This would work right now in a Power BI scenario. So you could do this. You can do all the same things you do with SSRS today in the context of paginated report. For example, I have a demo with auto refresh where I'm inserting data into a table as part of the process, and it shows a graph being created, things like that. So there is a way to go do it right now. It's not the official way they have in the service yet. Once we have URL parameters in place, which should come in the next couple months, you would then have the ability to use that by dynamically creating a DAX. That should cover many of your scenarios. We're also looking to hook into the official process that they have put in place starting in April, I guess. Okay. Oh, I drove Saxton away, so that's good. I know. Yes. So SSDT you may still use, but that is not something we will hook into the Power BI service in terms of having the experience. The visuals, we would need to make several changes for that to make it successful. And what we're looking to do is instead bring some of the capabilities that are currently in SSDT only into Report Builder, things like custom extensions and things like that. So we're going to go with kind of that direction right now, but you could still, if you wanted to, create content there and upload it manually. Right now, there's a whole, so one of the challenges we've been faced with is there's a specific ALM scenario that they're looking to build out in the context of Power BI. We're looking to snap into that. We're also looking to enable developer scenarios to give you optional integration with things like TFS, Git, et cetera. Okay, so what we're planning to do in the context of the product. So interestingly enough, Jason in the front row will appreciate this, 80-20 rule. So how many of you are familiar with SharePoint? Okay. So the SharePoint team and I had a conversation several months ago, and I talked about some of the challenges I was facing as, people have a certain set of expectations around what's in SSRS. And they had a similar challenge with people moving from SharePoint on-prem to SharePoint Online. And essentially, I was looking at this a little bit differently, but what they talked about is one of the things they found is they've just started being upfront with customers that they're following an 80-20 strategy. What does that mean? In the context of the 80%, you will get features that work as is in the context of the on-prem product. The big thing to call out around that is the RDL itself. We plan on having parity there between the two, which is a very, very big deal. There are certain other things that we would potentially look at as well. I think it's like a report builder, it's the same authoring process, et cetera. Some other things that will be similar features or functionalities to what you get in the on-prem product, but you may need to make some changes. For example, subscriptions. It's not exactly the same, but we're looking to have the same features available there. So you're looking at an 80% experience of where we'll get to in the context of the Power BI product compared to SSRS. Now, certain things I know certain people are passionate about in the community, things like the concept of shared data sources and shared data sets as they exist in SSRS. You have a certain concept like that in Power BI, but it's not exactly the same thing. Power BI is very heavily tilted towards analysis services, so there is this new thing that was introduced, shared data sets, which is essentially shared data source. It's analysis services that can be used by multiple reports. One of the nice things about Paginator Reports is you can connect to as many analysis services connections as you like. But we're not going to have the concept, as it exists in SSRS right now, of the shared data source, the single connection string that you have today. Shared data set, same thing, a shared table of data. Data flows gives you an experience that's like this. You can expose data flows right now in the context of a Power BI report and then have that Paginator report on top of it. We're looking actually to have direct connectivity to data flows and M data sources. We'll talk about that in a moment. But as you see, certain things like the legacy API surface and other things are not coming forward to Power BI. And so for those customers where they're very upfront and they say, it's okay to stay with Power BI Report Server or SSRS in the context of a VM or on-prem until such time you're ready to kind of move your application or make changes accordingly. You'll hear more about this in the upcoming months, about some plans here in terms of migration tooling, some hybrid scenarios that I can't get into just yet, but I think it's something you'll find very, very appealing in the context of your architecture of your BI solution with Power BI. So, what are we planning to do the next half of this year? Somebody mentioned drill through. Guess what? It's top of the list. I hear this all the time. So again, we're looking to optimize for this. Engineers are actually starting on the work for URL parameters right now. Finish the RDL completeness work. How many people here use subreports? Okay. Subreports is a big one I've heard about that's absolutely planned to be supported. Document map, bookmarks, these are some more niche features, but again, we would like to get the full RDL surface area in place in the context of Power BI where it makes sense. Embedding support, that is planned. API support there as well. A number of people have asked me for the API support specifically to the scenario of, I want to go create a Microsoft Flow that hooks into a render API and then I send email subscriptions that way. That's something that's absolutely planned. We have a prototype of that actually working. So that's something you should think about as well. But again, dev scenarios, PaaS embedding scenarios, those are all things that we hear a ton of feedback on and absolutely is planned. I mentioned monthly delivery already, data-driven subscriptions. Again, one of the top items we hear about. So if you think about over the next several months, these are the items we're focusing on for the second half of the year. mQuery data source support is an interesting one. So how many people have used data flows? Some? Okay. So you know right now they don't have the full Power Query UI in place, but you can take an M script, go and paste it in there, and then use that in the context of your data flow. We're looking in the very short term to get something similar in place for Report Builder and paginated reports. The interesting thing about this is we have some prototypes working that support parameters at runtime with M. So you can do your report and your end users can go and set parameters and pass those values through just like you would with any other data source with paginated reports. But this is something that's come up quite a bit in the context of desktop, looking for similar functionality that we look like we'll be able to have in place for paginated reports as part of this work. So again, this is different in that you don't have a model in the middle. It's just an M script, and you're getting your flat table of data, your results. We would like to go and do full Power Query support at some point, but that's not part of this initial M data source support. Questions on any of these? Yes?
So support to connectors that were with VM, is that something that's planned?
It should be, I mean, over time, you should be able to handle any of the M connectors. I think initially what you'll find is there'll be some limitations based on auth that's supported, and then over time, as that gets built out, you'd see fuller support. And again, you could always use a Power BI data set as a workaround, even if it's direct query. You can do that as a way to go and use all the different data types. Yes?
So as paginated reports employ subscriptions probably more often than your other Power BI reports, how are you able to track in the service, like kind of what, since everybody can set up their own schedules and exports and that kind of thing, is there a good way to kind of be able to see your user base and understand, you know, who in a certain way you can do it through who's authorized?
Yeah.
But who's really using these reports so that you don't have some sort of graveyard out there in a couple of years?
No, that's a good point. So one of the things that I didn't announce as part of this deck, but also was coming as part of this week, there is now an admin switch in Power BI, your tenant, to turn on and off subscriptions. This was never there. We're going to have it work over time more like the others in terms of giving individual users access. But right now, it was easy to just put a single switch in there. By default, it's on, and obviously we were hoping the vast majority of people leave it on. But the second part of that, around the administration, that's an area where we want to invest in as well. So right now in Power BI, you have no visibility into that, even like you do in SSRS. The plan is to go and do work specifically. So there's a few different entry points for subscriptions in Power BI, one of which, if you go through the gear menu in a workspace, you go to subscriptions tab, and essentially it lists a bunch of stuff for your subscriptions, and when you click something, the side menu opens, which isn't all that helpful. We'd like that to look and feel more like SSRS in the context of seeing the actual subscriptions, who created it, when's the last time it run, was it successful or not, what was the error message, and have the ability to kind of use that space more efficiently and give that kind of insight, not only in terms of administering it, but providing reporting around it. So that's all planned, it's just a matter of time. The engineers constantly thwart me with my plans, so they're looking at me like, shut up, Finland. Okay. Other questions? Yes.
For troubleshooting purposes, we go into the report server database to look at the error log.
Yep.
Views.
Yep.
Is there any ability to do it the same here?
There's no ability to go into the error logs per se and go and like you could with the report catalog. We just don't have access that way. One of the interesting things, we are in the premium capacity metrics monitoring app, so you can see a number of things there, and they're looking to surface more of those errors in the context of that. One of the things we have put in place in the context of subscriptions, for example, you now get an email message saying if your subscription failed to run, and it gives you some very specific error details on that, so you can go take action on it. We just implemented that first for paginated reports. It's been there a few weeks, and it'll be available for all the content types in Power BI in the context of subscriptions. So one thing that not only our team, but all the teams are focused on is giving friendly error messages and giving actionable information and making that more easily surfaceable. So you will see more and more of that, but it doesn't work. We just don't have the same type of access like we do with the database catalog and SSRS. Yes? For now, yes, but we have in our plans the ability to deliver to a location. So you could choose OneDrive or SharePoint or potentially blob storage. Interestingly enough, in the context of some of the stuff the embedded team is doing, for their export scenarios, they potentially would put in place some of this infrastructure where you could hit export. It happens asynchronously. It says, okay, your item is running, and then it actually gets saved to blob and you get a link. Something similar we might have in place for paginated reports. OneDrive and SharePoint are pretty straightforward ones that we want to go support, but there's some other interesting creative ways we could handle that as well. I did do some blog posts showing how you could use Flow as a workaround for that, but you still have that 25 meg limit. Usually the use case for people who want to get around is I have a really large file or I want to save it someplace on an ongoing basis in terms of dates. So, but yeah, it's absolutely planned. Yes? Certainly in the context of a data-driven subscription or maybe a Flow, you could go and do something like that. I mean, in terms of what we do in SSRS, we'd like to bring as much of that as possible, but we haven't spent much time thinking about the full scenario just yet. Other questions? Yes? Excuse me? Yes. So depending on what is in the RDL, it may just work. If you have a shared data source or something, guess what? It won't work. One of the projects that's actually being done by one of the interns this summer is some migration tooling that will actually go and convert certain things from your on-prem servers that aren't supported in the service, like a shared data source, convert them to an embedded data source or embedded data set. So we'll have some tooling there. Probably be a standalone script as well as maybe some integration into Report Builder to make that easier, but a number of migration tooling options are on the table for us to go and investigate. Yes?
Talk a little bit more about paginated reports in the embedded SKUs.
I can try. So paginated report and the embedded SKUs, right now there is support for them in the context of A4, 5, and 6. Right now, A1, 2, and 3 are not supported for the embedded SKUs. There are plans to support it down to A3. And then A1 and 2, again, this all depends on how creative John is to get this working in the lower SKUs. We want it so the idea with the embedded SKUs and with supporting it in Pro is we now think we have good ways to go and solve for some of the security challenges or things with RDL to make it available across all SKUs. Right now, it's still limited to the same SKUs you get with Premium, but it will be available in those corresponding A SKUs and then at a minimum A3 in the near future. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Oh, yes.
I hope I answered my question in a good way. But the nature of SSRS on-prem, very fast, and many different things that on the cloud are still not available for paginated reports. Is there a general idea that you can have everything we have on prem right now for SSRS totally available on the cloud with Power BI service?
No. That's kind of back to the 80-20 piece, that we would optimize for things in the context of Power BI, as opposed to building a true lift and shift experience from SSRS into Power BI. Now, is there a scenario in the future where potentially there's a standalone lift and shift story for ISVs? Maybe, but that's certainly not planned, and I think that ideally we can put in place a number of things to make that as seamless as possible for things to change the application. Again, I would say we have some things that we're planning to announce at Ignite that'll talk more about some of these scenarios where we're aware of some of these limitations and how we can help customers still potentially move things to the cloud and have them work in the context of Power BI without moving everything directly into the service. Other questions? We're right on schedule, so. All right, one last slide here. Resources for Paginated Reports. So this deck should be available to all of you. I have some links in here, some great items. There is a sample report you can go download with my good friend Paginated Report Bearer, documentation. I have a number of videos that Patrick's put together, some things on Report Builder design tips. That very specifically, that Report Builder design tips session is a session the previous program manager, Ricardo Moody, had done 2 years ago. At Embase, it's actually done a really nice job kind of walking you through certain scenarios, give you some tips and tricks there. I highly encourage you to check those out. What you're going to see is Patrick and myself spending a lot of time over this coming 6 to 12 months creating and putting out new content to help folks get up to speed not only with Report Builder, but with Paginated Reports and what the differences are between that and SSRS. Thank you all very much. This was great. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the conference.